What's up, people? Brian Joel here with my third video in a series chronicling my journey into the United States Air Force. Now, I do have to give you guys a heads up. This video may be broken up into two parts because I have a ton of stuff that I have to discuss, because in this video, the topic is the most important moment in any future member of the Armed Forces road to enlistment, and that is your trip to MEPS for the evaluation. As I explained in the last video, MEPS stands for the Military Entrance Processing Station, and that is your gateway to the military. You have to go through a physical, medical screening, and all of these other types of evaluations to see if you're even fit to join. Now, let me preface this video by saying that this is my experience and my experience alone. I'm not telling you exactly how everything is going to go for you, just giving you an example of what to expect from what I went through. And I know my experience was a lot different than other people's, because I hear other people talk about how MEPS was like a multi-day experience for them, how they may take the ASVAB one day, or if they live far away from MEPS, they stay at a hotel that night, wake up early that next morning, and then go back to MEPS. For me, it was just a one-day experience. I live like 25 minutes away from MEPS. That's nothing, so I just got up early that morning and headed out. Now, that morning was Monday, April 30th. My recruiter, he also set a briefing with me the Friday before that at his office, just to give me some idea of what to expect and to go over my paperwork again. He told me how at MEPS they try to scare you with the potential of a fraudulent enlistment if you lie, and how they'd fine you thousands of dollars and throw your ass in jail if you get caught. But I never had any problems with the law. Never did any drugs. All of my medical screening stuff, it was pre-approved by MEPS. So as long as all of that stuff was accurate, which it was, then I will be good to go. And he also gave me a list of do's and don'ts for over the weekend, because like I said, I had that briefing that Friday. I was set to go to MEPS that next Monday. And he was like, you know, I know you've never taken any drugs, you don't drink, but if you get the urge somewhere, some way, somehow, if you get the urge to do it this weekend, resist. And now, as long as you don't show up to MEPS high or drunk, and you manage to not gain 50 pounds over the weekend, you should be swearing in. And of course, I had to sit on that, think about it for a moment, and afterwards I was like, yeah, I think I can manage. So that Monday, I get up at some ungodly hour in the morning. I get ready and I head out to MEPS. I had to be there at 5:30. I got there 10 minutes before that. Then I had to wait another 30 minutes for everybody that was coming from the hotel. All of those recruits, they were coming over in a shuttle. So once the shuttle finally got there, everybody who was waiting outside, they hop onto the shuttle, and we were all mixed in. It was people who were there for their evaluations like me. There were also people on the bus who were actually shipping out to basic training that day. And there was this guy on the bus, I guess he was like a supervisor or something. He tells people who are shipping out that day to get off the bus. They all get off, and everybody who was left over, he briefs us on what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to proceed through the day. So he continues the brief, and he gets to the point where he's about to let us off the bus, but he has to go through his little procedure or whatever. He has to ask questions that he has to ask. So one of the questions he asked us was, does anybody have any weapons in their possession? And of course, you don't expect for anybody to say, oh yeah, I got some shit on me. But tell me why, when he says that, he says, does anybody have any weapons in their possession? Tell me why it's a chick sitting on the other side of the bus. She raises her hand. Now, everybody's eyes dart over to her like, what the fuck is going on here? I know, at least that's what I was thinking in my mind. And he's like, okay, what do you have? And she's like, 2 knives and a pair of scissors. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I'm trying to map out my exit strategies. Like, okay, if some shit pops off, I'm going this way. I'm going to avoid her ass. And yeah, I'm hopping off right over there. But, yeah, so they continue their little discussion. And she's like, oh, yeah, it was a mistake. My recruiter told me I wasn't supposed to bring anything like this, but it was just a mistake. And he's like, okay, well, yeah, whatever. So he takes the stuff, and that was the end of that. Like, everybody gets off the bus, including her, and we like lost sight of her. And there was this one guy, another recruit there. I was talking with him throughout the day and everything. He was like, where the hell did she go? Like, I'm gonna have to find her. I want to know why the hell she had those knives. But yeah, that was the end of that. So yeah, we all go make our way into the building, and yeah, once we make our way to the front desk, I have to do the biometric scan again with like the fingerprints and things. I told you guys about that in my last video. Then the same dude who briefed us, by that time, everybody who that had got off the bus, by the time we made it into the building, he was sitting at the front desk. And I get to the desk and he starts to scan my fingerprints and they didn't register in the system. Then he tells me, your middle finger is the one that's registered in our system. So every time you come here, you have to use your middle fingers. And he was like, you want to know an easy way to remember that? And I knew exactly where this was going, but I walked right into it. I'm like, what? And he goes like this. And we both laughed about it because, of course, he was joking and everything. And that's another thing that was different about my MEPS experience versus other stories that I've heard from people, because I hear people describe the officials who work at MEPS, like the physicians and the people who work at the front desks and, you know, all of the assistants and just anybody who works at MEPS. I've heard them describe this: pushy, mean, rude, arrogant, just complete assholes. But I can truly say that I didn't have that experience there. Like, everybody that I met that worked at the MEPS facility, they were either cool and laid back or like funny as hell. They tried to make the experience as easy and as stress-free as possible, except one lady, and we'll get to her. So after we get done signing in at the main desk in the front lobby, we head back to the medical section of MEPS, and they had their own front desk back there, and that's where that lady was. Now, I'm not even going to play her out on the internet and say she was rude or anything, because technically she wasn't. It's just that I'll describe her in the exact same way another one of the recruits there described her. She just gave off this vibe that she was not the type of person that you would want to piss off. Now, her job was to verify the information that we had included in our files. Like, we had to carry a file with us around all day, and in that file, that's where the physicians would record our results from the different evaluations that we had to take and everything. So she had to verify that I was me and make sure that all of the information in my file was correct. And from the first word out of her damn mouth, as soon as I got up to the desk, I just felt like I was in a fucking interrogation. It's like all of the walls went black. It was like one light bulb hanging from the ceiling, and she's like, okay, sir, so we want to make your experience at the MEPS facility as efficiently as we possibly can, sir. So I'm going to need to ask you a few questions. Is that okay with you, sir? Yes. What is the color of your hair? Black. And what are the color of both of your eyes? Brown. Is that for the left and the right, sir? Yes. And then she keeps asking me more and more questions, and then we finally get to the end, and she's like, okay, sir, so I'm going to need you to take this file, keep this file in your possession at all times, do not let this file out of your sight, and do not sign anything unless you are properly briefed. Do we have an understanding, sir? And I'm like, yes. And then she finally ushers me off, and I had to breathe a sigh of relief, only for a second, though, because I thought in my head, damn, yeah, this is connected to the military. That's probably not the only person like that I'm gonna experience in this day. And at that point, I'm like, man, this is gonna be a long day. Now, at that point, I was directed to go sit in a section of chairs. Now, I don't know how your MEPS facility works, but at this one, basically each evaluation had their own section, and the sections were broken up into color-coded chairs, like the eye test, blue chairs, hearing test, green chairs, interview with the doctor, gray chairs. And after you finish one section, they tell you to get up, go sit in another one. But things were moving so fast for me, I barely even had time to sit down. Like, as soon as I got my file back from the lady at the desk, I head over to the eye test. The doctors, they called me into the room, and the test, it's nothing much different than what you would have at like a regular doctor's office. The only difference is, you know, they have like the charts and everything, and with the letters and the numbers, and as you go down the list, they get smaller and smaller. But instead of looking at that chart, like the piece of paper or cardboard, whatever it is, you're looking into this machine-like thing. So it's nothing more than that. And then you also have to take the depth perception test. Now with that, they have these 5 circles in a row, and it's like 3D imaging. So one of the circles will be further ahead than the other ones, and all you have to do is pick whichever one that is and give the number. You know, if it's the third one over, you say, okay, number 3. And, you know, that was nothing really difficult at all. I passed all of that with flying colors. Turns out I have 20/20 vision, so I was all good in that department. Now, after that, they tell me to go sit in the green section of chairs for the hearing test. I head over there, and before my ass even touched the seat, the doctor calls me into the room. So I had to go sit in this booth on a stool, and I don't know if the booth was supposed to be soundproof. All I know is that it wasn't, because before I put my headphones on, I could hear people laughing and talking on the outside of the damn booth. But I'm like, you know what, whatever, I'm just gonna go in here, I'm gonna do this test and everything. So I put the headphones on, and they also have this clicker there, and it's basically it looks kind of like what the contestants on Jeopardy have, and that's how you would proceed on with the test. Once you hear the tone, you click, and you know that's basically what the test is there. So they give you the instructions for the test. You can hear it playing in your headphones, and then after that, after the guy stops talking, I hear beep beep beep, and I'm thinking that's the tone to indicate that the test is about to start. I didn't know that basically that was the first question on the damn test. So I hear beep beep beep, and I'm sitting there like, okay, so next thing I hear, then I'll press the damn button. But I hear beep 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 again, and I'm like, wait a minute, oh shit, I just missed the first one, and I hurry up and clicking on that one. And at that point I start panicking. I'm like, if I hear even a peep, I don't even have to hear beep beep beep. If I hear a fucking peep, I'm clicking that damn button, because I missed the first one, and the first one was the most obvious one because it was the loudest. The way that test goes, it's like beep 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 beep. Like the further along you go, the more the volume is turned down, and I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna think I'm deaf or something. I missed the easiest one. But turns out all of the panicking and stuff like that, it wasn't necessary, because I ended up passing that well enough to let them know that I actually could hear. So I was done with that portion of the testing at that point. Next, I moved back to the eye examination room for the color vision test, and here's where things take a left. Now, if you do a Google image search of colorblind test, those little slides that you see with the circles and the little bubbles, colored bubbles in them, and the numbers and stuff like that, that's basically exactly what they use at the MEPS facility. If you have normal color vision, you'll see different numbers in them and things, and if you're colorblind, you'll see nothing. So the doctor, he starts the test, and I didn't expect any problems whatsoever, because I kid you not, out of every single evaluation I read up on online with my research preparing to go to MEPS, this was literally the least of my worries. I had a whole bunch of other shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about this, but the color vision test, I wasn't worried about that one at all. So when the test finally starts, the doctor flips over there. He had this little booklet there with all of the slides in it. He flips to the first one, and I tell him the number that I see. I'm like 27 or whatever the number was. He goes to the next one, 14. He goes to the next one, and I don't see anything. And I think to myself, maybe they threw one blank one in here just to keep us on our toes, make sure we aren't making shit up. So I'll tell the doctor, I don't see anything. So he flips to the next one, and again, I don't see anything. And I start thinking to myself, maybe they threw two blank ones in here just to keep us on our toes. So I look at it for a couple of seconds longer just to make sure, and I'm like, okay, yeah, so I don't see a number. He flips to the next one, and again, I don't see anything. So I start to think to myself, maybe they threw three blank ones. Nah, this is some bullshit. So I start to move around and change up my angles and start squinting my eyes, trying to make it, trying to see if that would help me out or something. And the doctor, he can clearly see that I am failing the hell out of this test. So he's like, no mercy whatsoever. Let me put him out of his misery. So he starts to turn the page, and I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, don't turn it yet. And I'm still looking, and I'm moving around, looking all crazy and stuff, and then he keeps turning the page, so I'm like, forget it. I don't see anything. So he continues to go through the test, and I answer the questions, or I tell him what I see as best as I can. So we finally finish up with that, and I'm in disbelief. I'm like, wow, I really just screwed this thing up. And, he goes to take that file that I had to record my results, and I see him writing the letter F And as soon as I see him write the letter F, I just turn around like,